Hello everyone, Stormer1 here. Today we'll be talking about the potential for some significant severe weather that will be impacting the state of Kentucky Wednesday and into Wednesday night. And that's going to be the beginning of a hyperactive pattern that's going to continue through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and even into Sunday, which each of those days may have potential to bring more strong to severe storms and the potential for significant flooding, especially towards the later end of the week. Let's going to get started with a watch warning advisory display across the country. Pretty active, especially off to our west. We got some severe weather that's ongoing. In the Carolinas, as a severe thunderstorm watch. We even had severe thunderstorm warnings in the Myrtle Beach area not too long ago. But meanwhile, here in Kentucky, we do have a flood watch that is in place here. And you can see how that includes most of the state. The only exception would be southeastern Kentucky out there. And what should be noted with this flood watch is that this is a high-end flood watch. If you actually look into the description of this flood watch here, you can see here that's what is being said by the National Weather Service is that, in quote, this is expected to be a high-end event with life-threatening flooding. Major flash flooding and river flooding will be possible. Rush to completion any flooding preparation by Wednesday. So that's some pretty strong wording from the National Weather Service. And like I said, it's going to be a high-end event. We are talking about a significant amount of rain that's going to be on the way. We'll talk a little bit more about the flood threat and the rainfall amounts a little bit later in the video, but I want to get started with the severe weather side because that's what's going to come first, especially on Wednesday, which Wednesday is looking to be the bigger day out of the rest of the days. So this is the SPC outlook for tomorrow. You get an enhanced risk for portions of Kansas with a large slight risk area that includes parts of the central and southern plains and even out into portions of Missouri and Illinois. There is a 10% hatch tornado risk out there, but damaging winds and very large hail are going to be the primary threats. We're actually going to keep a close eye on those storms because those storms may have the possibility to have an impact on Wednesday's setup, which I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few moments. But as we go into day 3, which is Wednesday, got a very large enhanced risk area that's out for a large chunk of the Ohio Valley, portions of the Great Lakes, all the way down towards the Arlatex region out there. And this kind of seems familiar, right? Another very large enhanced risk out there, just like Sunday's system, right? Kind of sounds familiar, don't it? Here's a closer view of the enhanced risk here for over Kentucky. You can see it includes central and western Kentucky. Meanwhile, eastern Kentucky kind of goes from the slight to marginal risk, and it's kind of a sharp cutoff this time, unlike last time. And part of the reason why there's such a sharp cutoff with the slight to marginal risk is because of the uncertainty of how far south and east this line of storms could potentially go. And they may not make it that far to the southeast like they did last time or last night. So that'd be something worth watching, especially for anybody that's watching from southeastern Kentucky. But areas that are in the enhanced risk area also has the potential for significant severe weather. That is the hatched area. And significant severe weather really could mean anything. Could mean the potential for big hail, strong tornadoes, or even significant damage winds. And I think this is going to be more in the way of significant damage winds, but I cannot rule out strong tornadoes. I think the very large hail threat kind of stays off to our west, at least as it stands for right now. There's still some uncertainty out there in terms of the storm mode or the timing as well, and how long those storms can stay discrete before they turn into a big squall line or a huge cluster of thunderstorms out there. And those are questions that are still yet to be answered out there. So there's still uncertainty for Wednesday. And there's actually another severe weather risk that's been posted for Thursday, and that includes most of Kentucky. And Thursday's severe weather threat could be determinative of how Wednesday storms go out there. And even beyond Thursday, there is also a chance for some strong severe storms Friday, Saturday, and maybe even possibly Sunday. There's no risk area posted by the SPC yet, but don't be surprised if we do see some type of risk area for those particular days in future outlooks. So let's check out the European model here. This is Wednesday afternoon. We got a strong surface low that's moving across Iowa. If we look off to the west of Kentucky, we do have a cluster or an area of strong severe storms that is initiated from Illinois all the way down into northeastern Texas. And these storms will first initially be discrete before they turn into a big squall line or multiple clusters of storms. This is what the European model wants to try to do. But what you can also see, the reason why you have such a sharp cutoff with the slight and marginal risk is because of how they progress to the south and east. You can see here how they don't really quite push it through Kentucky. Now, the European model is not necessarily a convective allowing model, and it should be taken as a grain of salt when it comes to reflectivity. But there is that possibility that this cluster of thunderstorms may not actually make it to southeastern Kentucky. So there's still some uncertainty out there of how far south to the east that they can go. But areas in the enhanced risk is where there's greatest confidence, at least as it stands for right now. That could change as we get closer here when modeling gets a much better idea, especially with the convection or the storms that fire up tomorrow in Kansas and Oklahoma. I think those can really have a big impact of how Wednesday could look like as well. And here's the 500 millibar winds for Wednesday here. And this is peak time heating. So the main jet streak is more focused up towards the upper Midwest region. This is not really ideal for severe weather. Normally, when we have big severe weather events, you want to be kind of on the right side or just out ahead of that jet streak, which in this case we're not going to be. However, we still got pretty strong winds out there, and we're still kind of in that right exit region up in here, and this is going to be a favorite area for thunderstorm development from the Ohio Valley even all the way down towards northeastern Texas out there. So we got the lift in the wind energy available at least at 500 millibars, so this would support severe weather. And if we can have a closer view here, and you can kind of see here, you kind of get these little ripples here within the 500 millibar winds. And that can also really help enhance development of thunderstorms, especially when they first develop, when they become a little more discrete early on before they turn into a cluster of thunderstorms out there. And if we actually look into the low of a jet, which is 850 millibars, you can see here, if you remember from yesterday's event, winds were anywhere from 25 to 35 knots, even upwards of 40 knots in some places. So not that strong, but just strong enough to support some severe weather. Wednesday setup, we're talking about winds that could be anywhere from 55 to 65 knots. So the winds are going to be stronger with Wednesday setup here. So the wind shear parameters and the wind energy is going to be more favorable for severe weather for Wednesday setup compared to Sunday. And you've seen what we saw back on Sunday or yesterday. And we did experience some damaging winds, quite a few tornadoes out there. And with more wind energy to work with, it can make things a little more concerning out there. And when we start to look into the thermodynamics, like dew points as an example here, dew points are going to be about the same here compared to Sunday. And there's even an outside chance for some upper 60 dew points, which is what the European model is trying to suggest out here, especially in west central Kentucky. If we do see dew points getting in the upper 60s, that may be a little bit concerning out there. So, but either way, though, we got the moisture here. So we got the wind energy, we got the lift, we got the moisture. Temperatures temperatures are going to be very warm on Wednesday. I know the model here is going to say temperatures in the mid 70s, or more than likely going to be in the upper 70s to low 80s. We're talking about, and there's actually going to be more clearing on Wednesday compared to yesterday. The air is a little more drier in our atmosphere, so we're not going to have as much cloud cover, so we'll have more sunshine. Plus, the winds out of the south are actually going to be strong enough to where we may actually going to have a wind advisory out there. A wind advisory is actually going to be needed, as we're going to be talking about 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, and I cannot roll out some 55 mile an hour wind gusts out there during the day on Wednesday. So not only Wednesday it's going to be warm and humid, but it's also going to be a very windy day out there too. That's really going to make it feel like a severe weather day. When it's warm, humid, and windy, that's really going to make it feel like a classic big severe weather day here in Kentucky. So that's something you're really going to notice Wednesday afternoon. Of course, with the warmth in the higher amount of moisture, you're going to have unstable air in place, which if you look into the European model for instability, it's generally anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram, with some areas exceeding 2,000 joules per kilogram out there. And a model that tends to do a little bit better with surface-based instability is the HIRES NAM. And you can see that surface-based instability in some areas may actually exceed 2,000 joules per kilogram, which will not surprise me, especially when temperatures do overperform, which happens 99% of the time with setups like these. When you have a strong southerly wind flow with plenty of sun, temperatures overperform 99% of the time, which can mean models could be downplaying the surface-based instability values just a little bit out here. But I think the HIRES NAM's got a pretty good idea of how unstable our atmosphere is going to be. And as you can see here, it's going to be more than enough to support severe weather. Ideally for severe weather, surface-based instability's got to be at least 1,000 joules per kilogram. And you can see here numbers could be doubled out there. So you got plenty of instability, you got the moisture, you got the lift, got the wind energy. So sounds like most of the ingredients would be in place for severe weather out there, which you'll be right, especially Wednesday afternoon. And we'll look at soundings here in a minute. I don't think there's anything else for me to look on here. I don't think I've missed anything. Yeah, I don't think I've missed much of anything. But you can see here, so we kind of go back to European model, you can kind of see how those instability values start to drop as you get into Wednesday evening. And I feel like it's dropping a little bit too fast. Especially if when you still have a strong southerly wind flow, that's going to help keep temperatures a little bit warmer out there through the evening. So it could be dropping those instability values a little bit too quick for my liking. But if we go to the HIRES NAM, and this is the superset composite parameters, and normally for severe weather, I would say north of 2 or 3 can be favorable for severe weather. And if we see numbers like in the red, or especially north of a 10, then I would be a little more concerned. And you can see here, there are some numbers that go up as high as 12 to 13, which means conditions are very favorable, not just for severe weather, but also for supercells, rotating thunderstorms out there. And you can see it's also over a very large area out there. So conditions are likely to be pretty favorable for severe weather and even significant severe weather. As we go into Wednesday afternoon and then especially into Wednesday evening out there. So, yeah. And these numbers are actually higher compared to Sunday here. I think Sunday's numbers were more like, I think it maxed out at like an 8. And you can see here for Wednesday, it's maxing out Southern Illinois up to 14 to 15. So, pretty clear difference, right? In terms of how favorable the atmosphere is going to be. And here's a look at significant tornado parameters here. This is something I did not show on the previous severe weather event. Significant weather parameters kind of gives you a little bit of idea of how favorable the environment is for tornadoes. Normally, a 1 and a 2 is favorable for tornadoes, but when you get numbers, especially around of 3 to 4, that means conditions could be favorable for stronger tornadoes. And you can see here, especially in south central Illinois, especially down into Arkansas, you got numbers that are up as high as an 8, a 9, even up as high as a 10 down in Arkansas. And those are some pretty concerning numbers out there. And from a weather forecaster standpoint, and even for a meteorologist standpoint, these are some very concerning numbers out there. So the environment's definitely going to be primed for significant severe weather, and all modes of severe weather are likely going to be in play. Damaged winds could be some destructive winds. Very large hail could be possible, and strong tornadoes are also possible as well. And I think the greatest potential for severe weather, I think as it stands right now, is probably going to be in this area in here. Probably right in here. So western Kentucky, southwestern Indiana, southern Illinois, southeastern Missouri, especially down towards Arkansas, western Tennessee, and into portions of northern Mississippi. And I think that's the area we really got to pay very close attention to. And kind of going back to the storms for Tuesday, the reason why we really have to watch for those storms is because if they actually survive through the overnight hours, Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning, that can change things up. And I've said this in the past, that weather models do a very, very poor job on morning convection, especially when it comes to setups like this. When we have a cluster of thunderstorms that develops a day prior and continues through the overnight hours, normally the models will completely dissipate that cluster of storms. And I'll show you on the Horace Dam because it does that exact same thing here. So here's your cluster of strong severe storms up in Kansas. You can see here how it just dissipates Wednesday morning. And when I kind of look in the environment out there, while yes, there looks to be, a strong cap inversion, but there is still a ton of elevated instability out there. Elevated instability is maybe north of 2,000. If the storms can stay above that cap inversion, it can really survive through the night. And if it does survive through the overnight hours into Wednesday morning, then we could be talking about a potentially significant cluster of thunderstorms that may rove through parts of Illinois into Indiana and maybe into parts of Kentucky. And that can really change things up for Wednesday because it can also mean a much earlier arrival on the storms. And it can also have a big impact on the second round of storms that will likely initiate back out in here. So that's going to be something to watch very closely here. And I'll definitely be keeping a very close eye on that as we get closer to Wednesday here. And I'll be very curious to see how those storms are progress when I wake up Wednesday morning. But it's definitely going to be one of those things that may really have a major impact on how Wednesday's system or Wednesday severe weather setup could go, because that can really change things up quite a bit. So here's the GFS model here, and I'm going to show you guys the GFS model superset composite parameters really over the next several days here. So this is for Tuesday here, and you can see here the most favorable parameters for severe weather is in the plains, Kansas down in Oklahoma. You can kind of see here how those favorable superset composite parameters don't really go away. They really don't. which makes me a little bit skeptical for that morning wave. But as we get into Wednesday here, you can see here, especially areas in orange and red, conditions are pretty favorable for severe weather and even for rotating storms as well. And then here's Thursday, which this is what the SPC has highlighted most of Kentucky in. And Thursday's got a lot of uncertainty. It's really going to depend on how Wednesday storms go and how far south and east those storms can go. Because really along and south of that boundary is where the greatest severe weather potential is going to be, which in this case, the GFS has it more focused in south central and southeastern Kentucky. But that could change, and I think that'll likely change as we get closer here. But if you're along and south of that boundary, we're likely to experience some more strong severe storms. And you can see supercyclic positive parameters does get up as high as a 4 and a 5. So conditions will be favorable for severe weather. Now Friday could be an off day possibly for a decent chunk of Kentucky, but the GFS is highlighting far western Kentucky with some severe weather potential. Saturday may be another day to watch for. You can see here how those supercyclic positive parameters go up again across central and western Kentucky for Saturday. And possibly Sunday. Modeling has been kind of trending slower on Sunday. And if that slowing does continue, then we may see an extra day of some strong to maybe some severe storms again on Sunday as well. So, yeah. Basically every day from Wednesday to Saturday or Sunday, we got a chance for severe weather somewhere in Kentucky. So it's going to be a very busy 7-day stretch. And of course, with all of these showers and thunderstorms rolling through over some of the same areas, that's going to lead to significant flooding. And that's going to be a very big concern as we go later into the week, especially into this upcoming weekend. So this is the Weather Prediction Center's excessive rainfall outlook here. And I believe, this is for Wednesday. They got a moderate risk that stretches from southern Indiana through western Kentucky all the way down to northeastern Arkansas. That's where the greatest confidence is for the potential for some flooding issues in that moderate risk area. As we go into day 4, which is Thursday, got that moderate risk that continues across western Kentucky, but then it extends all the way up into northern Kentucky, which would include Cincinnati, Louisville, Frankfort, Georgetown, E-Town, and of course, pretty much all of western Kentucky. And then as you go into day 5, which is Friday, got a slight risk across a decent chunk of central and western Kentucky, with a moderate risk being more focused down into Arkansas, southeastern Missouri. This could change as we get closer here, as that is several days out. And remember, that only goes through Friday. They don't post outlooks for Saturday or Sunday either. And when we put all this rain together, this is how much we could potentially see. And I'll show you guys 2 models. This is the European model through Monday morning. And you can see here, those are some very high numbers. Now, southeastern Kentucky will experience probably the lower end amounts of this multi-day event. Could be anywhere from about a half an inch, which that might be a little bit too low for my liking. But I think southeastern Kentucky would be more like an inch to maybe upwards of 4 inches in some places. But as you get towards, northern, western, and even portions of the Bullgrass region, you can see how those numbers really start to get high. And you can see that's basically a very large swath of 6 to 10 inches of rain out there with some locally higher amounts possible. And you can see these pockets of what could be close to a foot of rain in a couple of different places out there. So that's a lot of rain. And that would lead to significant flooding problems, especially in terms of aerial and even river flooding. We'll likely see a lot of rivers out there go into minor to moderate flood stage. And a major flood stage is certainly possible on some of those rivers out there. And here's the GFS model. And the GFS model is a little bit farther northwest on this run, but despite that, you can still see some ridiculously high numbers out there. I mean, that's almost 15 inches of rain for Evansville out there. Nearly a foot of rain for Paducah and Owensboro, about 10 inches for Louisville, 9 inches, almost 9 inches for Cincinnati. I mean, these are some ridiculously high numbers, and with these type of numbers, you're just going to get big time flooding problems out there. I mean that's pretty much a guaranteed with these type of numbers, and it's been a long time since we've seen numbers like this, especially on weather models. And this is the Weather Prediction Center's rainfall forecast, and you can see here, Western Kentucky with the potential for double-digit rainfall totals. So there's still some uncertainty on the placement and some in the totals of the rainfall numbers, but regardless of the uncertainties, this is still looking to be a very significant rainfall event that will most definitely bring significant flooding problems. There will be instances of flash flooding out there as well, and I think the greatest threat for significant flooding is going to be across central and western Kentucky. Southeastern Kentucky might be able to get away with some of this action here. You can see our amounts are lower in southeastern Kentucky. I mean, that's still a decent amount of rain for them guys, but it's definitely nowhere as close like it would be in western Kentucky. And hopefully these numbers stay away from eastern Kentucky. If these numbers end up trending eastward to eastern Kentucky, which I don't see that happening, but if they do, I mean, that would be catastrophic for eastern Kentucky. But right now, this is looking to be more across western Kentucky, up on the Ohio River, through Louisville and up towards Cincinnati. This area here is the area I would be most concerned with the more significant flooding potential. And we'll have more updates on this as we get closer. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification whenever it's an upload. If you guys get any questions, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.